well, with namely like Flipkart and other big companies like Decathlon already there. So he will be sharing his insights on user acquisition on EdTech, especially with us today. Also, we have Deepika from AWS, India Program Lead for AWS EdStart. So I'll be giving it over to Deepika to share a small insights on AWS EdStart for all the founders who have joined us today. And then I guess, Deepika, you can give it over to Bala to start the session on user acquisition on EdTech.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. How's the Josh? Thank you so much for taking out the time. I am Deepika Sharma. I currently lead the AWS EdStart program for India region, and I am really honored that all of you have actually found time to listen to us. So we hope to make it worth your while. If not, we would be really, really open to taking suggestions. We want to make this a very interactive conversation. So the intent is listen to you, answer any questions you might have, leave dedicated 15 minutes towards the end for Q&A, but we are very, very open to take any particular questions in between as well. And we try to do justice to the format. So, so why are we here? Let me start, quickly giving you a very brief introduction about AWS EdStart. What are we trying to achieve, and how have we joined hands with UINCEPT in the mission to support the EdTech community? AWS EdStart is essentially a virtual accelerator program of Amazon Web Services. It is a global program. It has 30 plus countries covered across the globe, and we are very rapidly expanding the program to serve more and more regions. The intent of this program is essentially to accelerate the growth of EdTech companies on AWS Cloud. That is the goal or mission that we have. And hence, the program's mission or sort of expectation of you is to be successful in the EdTech ecosystem. That's a quick introduction. About the program, a little bit more on how you can actually think about the program. It has essentially two types of engagement models with EdTech companies. And I want to specially call out these two disclaimers. We do not charge any equity. We do not charge any membership fee. We are here to support you. And to do so, we essentially engage with very, very early or young EdTech startups through our innovators tier. These are companies who just started building on their idea. So imagine a founder sitting in front of a laptop who just started conceptualizing about an EdTech. May or may not have a VC backing, may or may not have an active user base yet. So we have the innovator tier open for you to apply. And members tier is for advanced members or advanced EdTech companies who today have an active education user base, and they are progressing to grow rapidly in the Indian market, right? Now, in terms of what you get primarily from the program overall, you get all of what you see here on the screen, right? Happy to go essentially. Please go and take a look on what the program offers to you. But primarily think of it as a program which helps you achieve your milestones, essentially starting with when you want to just start building on AWS with promotional credits and you want to learn more, get technical support from us. Then you want to GTM your company. We provide PR support, publicity support. You want to get expertise. We have amazing, mentors, or we are trying to build a good mentorship ecosystem in India. And in fact, this webinar today is in that direction. UINCEPT is one of the strong mentor, strong collaborator we are building out of India. Essentially, networking opportunities is something that you can also look forward to connect with accelerators, incubators across the globe. Whenever you want to open up into a new market, we essentially help you support in regions where we are essentially offering AWS EdStart as a program. So yeah, that's a very quick insight. I also want to share what are UIncept and AWS EdStart doing together, right? So if you go to our website, aws.amazon.com/education/EdStart, on this page, meet our community would be a quick way for you to look at who are the members or who are the edtech companies who are benefiting from this program. And who are the collaborators? Collaborators are support organizations. So UIncept, which is actually a leading accelerator as well as investor in the Indian edtech ecosystem, is one of our partners. And we have these partners across the globe. University of Pennsylvania, EduGrowth, essentially Mindset, EduSpace, which is another VC, very, very active in the APAC region. So these partners help us enrich the edtech ecosystem. And one of the learnings recently is edtechs want to know how to acquire the next set of users. Within the current timelines, we want to really scale our business. We want to go to this next milestone of users. So that's why we are here, trying to demystify the user acquisition for you. With that, I would pass on to Aditya to open up the sessions for us. Happy to take any questions in between, and also happy to connect offline. Thank you. I cannot hear you, Aditya.
Yeah, sorry.
No
It
problem.
was, yeah, extremely sorry. Yeah, so thanks a lot, Deepika, for this insights on the AWS EdStart program. And so I won't be wasting much of the time, and over to you, Bala. You can start and let us, I would say, know what are the user acquisition, how we can actually demystify the user acquisition, especially in the EdStart right now, which is kind of really hot. So over to you, Bala. You, I guess, can share
Right.
this.
All right, guys. So guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for UINSEP, thank you for Deepika with AWS, and thank you Aditya for hosting here. And thank you for everybody else to be being for coming assembling here to this story. So small introduction about us is I run this company called Brand Story. We are based out of Bangalore, and we primarily into like digital marketing for like last 8 years. From a single consultant, today we are an over 75 people team. So we have exposure in terms of working with over 500 plus brands in like last 7-8 years at various scale and various stages, various budgets, various environment, right? So I really hope that I could add some value to this particular ecosystem that is present here. So in the benefit of a large audience, how we segregated, I mean, how we plan this particular seminar or session is based out of, I'm going to run you through on the frameworks of, let me say, digital and digital.
Vinay, can you hear me?
Yes, I mean, okay. Are we audible?
Hey, Vinay, you're on mute.
Yeah, so we'll be putting, I would say, the founders on mute, because that would be kind of interruption for Bala in between. I'm very sorry. We'll be taking questions at the end, don't worry. So over to you, Bala, again. So guys, if at all, if your mic is on, please put it on mute, because that would be a slight interruption and kind of not very helpful for all the other folks who have joined with us.
Sure. Okay. Because we have a large set of entrepreneurs who are at various stages. When I say various stages, they could be in idea stage, or they have brought their idea into an MVP, and say they're bringing their MVP into an let me say market validation stage, or you would have already did that and you're already launching your you launched your product into the in market, and you're already having a customer, so you are looking at only at scale. So we have multiple use case, I mean environment across all all of your founders as in whole context. So we try to be precise and speak about a framework that you could able to take home, and you could able to implement and trust that, and you could able to implement. We also going to let you understand how, as in let me say digital consultants or agency, how we look at numbers and data and how we drive our decisions, so on. So if there isn't any specific question very much related to, let me say, your problem statement, we would love to take it outside this conference, and we would be more than happy to connect with you all. So what we are not speaking about in this this webinar is we are not talking about CRO, we are not talking about conversion rate optimization, or we are not talking about growth hacking as in metrics, because growth hacking is something which should work for one and doesn't work for others. So we are excluding that from this particular conversation. We might we are happy to connect with you after this conversation, and we could able to take this your vertical or your business specific problem statement. We can discuss and speak on that. Okay, all right. So we work with various range of customers from edtech to fintech to we sold from pest control to Damak Properties. We build brands. We would have engaged in any of the one major function. What we call it as asset creation, build assets, then do an outreach program, take that asset to the customer, and then measure how the customer is reacting to your asset. So you have an entire road plan. So this need to be repeated. You can call it agile, you can call it any methodology, but only three aspects that we have. So firstly, when I want to run you through guys through sales funnel. I'm sure you guys would be, you know all of it, but I run it through for the new founders. So we call it as the marketing, the hierarchy that we follow is awareness, interest, consideration, then intent, evolution, and purchase. For example, I'll take the very old example of Ola. If we need to understand there is a service as Ola present, then ads that we come across through digital or offline marketing, they claim that, hey, I can take you to point A to B with X cost, and they announce. So I get to know that service exists. Then I come into interest and consideration happens. I'm looking at that communication, and then I look for and download this app. That's where my first level of engagement happens. And then I would convert into first ride, point A to B. So if I'm great as a product, then I'm again going to use it again and again. Where the Ola had acquired have my me as a retained customer. So my retention happened that account, right? So you have this when you acquire in your digital product component. The first challenge is to ensure that large set of your TG get to aware of that you are present in the market, because in your space, the more the the years we delay, the more the competitors accumulated in each promising environment. As of today, EdTech has been looked at a $10 billion plus opportunity in India itself. So you'll have more competitors. So the first and foremost challenge is as a promoter or a founder, is to ensure that your customer knows it. So you run an awareness campaign. So your communication is so clean with CTAs and etc. So people engage with your application or your website, which is your primary asset. So then you measure how your user has been performing, or let me see how the user experience is helping them to convert more. So you then go on solve multiple problems based on the funnel process. So what is an awareness and what is how I can able to skip it through. If there is a question, please write it through in terms of, let me say, I want to run it through with more infographics so it can easily understandable. So what is interest? I will share this deck with you guys. So it's not a problem. So the Ola context, whatever I explained is what has been mentioned in here. And the consideration process, people truly understand that your product can solve their problem. So they want to engage with you. And then there is a buying intent has been created. So you convert your prospect to a possible buyers happens at this particular stage. And then they evaluate you to buy, and they finally make a purchasing decision. It's a typical MBA context, or let me say any other digital marketing courses, anything you would attend, they would have run you through. But what they will not tell you is that you need to have a substantial amount of assets in all the spaces. So what are the factors that has been essential? Because during the stages, there are multiple things that will impact your marketing approach. The way I said, the stage of the business which you are in terms of from idea stage to scale stage to the domination stage. For example, I would consider Upgrad is a dominating player in their vertical, where somebody who would be having an idea stage course might be part of our component. And in terms of resources availability, meaning who are the teams that you have? Maybe do you have let me say, search engine talent already, or you haven't media marketer or a salesperson already? So this also have an impact. Then also your TG. So who is your TG? Your TG is a customer who has a heavy purchasing power or not, or is your TG is someone is a user but not your payer, especially for an EdTech courses where the children I mean, you want to board your children, right? For Byju's. So the user is different and the payer is different. So you need to convince at the both the space. I mean, for example, you need to convince your payer to make them paying decision, but it need to be in tangible results need to be come from your user. User should love your product, right? So based on various aspects, it need to be sorted, and the very old school problem statement with the budgets available. If you're a bootstrap company, then you know the path is extremely difficult. You already have a VC budget, or you have a seed round, or even you raise Series A. So you might be in various stages of this funding or finance backgrounds. So based on your funding or your resources availability, you can choose to invest on what stages it is. Maybe, for example, you are very early stage. You don't need to worry about, let me say, building a strong, let me say, loyalty offer, because loyalty offer you need to build to increase the stickiness of the customer who's been slipping away. So if you're in early stage, focus on awareness space and understand what kind of the ads you need to create, what kind of conversation you need to create, and build it upon. For example, you already have a lot of customers, but they are not converting into conversion. So there's a problem between the consideration and conversion stage. Maybe your ads are so clean, bring in traffic, but the traffic is not converting. So what element that you would add in? So maybe you want to try out inbound in terms of content marketing, or you want to focus on search engine optimization, or you want to work out on the collaboration in terms of any other offer that you need to bring into their one. So those elements we could able to cover. So each of the, let me say, funnel stage, you could create tons of content. So what we can also call this lead magnet. So these stages, I mean, these content, these elements, these practices can help you nurture your customer from move one stage to the other stage, because a marketing dollar spent is the easiest activity in a customer activation. But converting that visitors, so because what happens, for example, many times when you run your marketing campaign through an extended marketing resource, or a marketing agency, what you would have always faced through is the leads that dropped in, you would have considered as junk or non-qualified leads, correct? That happens because of the low conversion, or the customer, whoever, or the prospect who entered in through a lead, which costed us an X budget, didn't understand the communication of what we offer. So everything from top to bottom, we need to analyze and further build it. So there is no Midas touch available for, for every, company that grew over a period of time. Everybody tested an X budget, learned what it is, and then they continuously improved over context. So that's why conversion rate optimization, it's a fun, very large topic, but there is no one formula for all the conversion rate optimization, because it would be extremely different from each segment to segment. And okay, so user acquisition channel. So this is extremely important, because where are you going to allocate your time, energy, resources, or all your collaboration, network, partnerships, everything? So where is it going to come from? So based on our experience working with major corporates or startups or major communities across the globe, what we learned is, this is the framework, this has been trademarked from us. What we do is, we believe these 4 channels going to bring in your major traffic. So building a strong foundational programs and content around this 4 channel will be extremely important. So we have created into 4 segments. 2 segments, which you call it as organic and inorganic. Meaning, if you are bootstrapped, focus on the organic component. If you have funds to, let me say, test and try, then you can also try out an inorganic. But I have mentioned it based on the hierarchy, based on the contribution of percentage it gives, right? See, Google ads are cool. You can burn X many number of, budget. I have run, so I started my marketing career running campaigns in Middle East. And then when I moved to India, I realized the cost of Google AdWords is moving year on year over a period of time. Like Google. So it's like a slow price point that will increase. So this is what, a corporation who have 100% control over a market share will depend on, for example, when the cost is grow by 20 to 30% year on year, what happens is, in less than 3 years, the cost will be double for the same click. So your customer, that doesn't mean customer will be willing to pay twice the money he was used to pay for a year back, right? So the more the competition come in, the more the new companies come in, the cost will go high. So paid campaigns is traditionally, as our philosophy, we say, okay, if you want an immediate traction, you need immediate validation, you don't have a long term, then go for a patent. If not, focus much on organic component. So Google, reason being, it's going to give a 60% of 50 to 60% is an ideal traffic. Your social media is always, if you're a stable company, the contribution to the overall traffic will be always less than 5%. For example, if you see a heavily funded B2C organization, let me say Urban Clap or Housing.com, during their peak of their funding, you would have seen their social media customer acquisition touching around up to 15 to 20%. That is a huge amount of burn, because none of the investment of 15 to 20% of customer acquisition through social media will not give you right ROI. It will give you customer acquisition cost, but will not give you a profitable customer acquisition. So certain founders who have been chasing, let me say, only customer acquisition, then let us invest more time on inorganic methodology, because your metric, your sleepless nights can be avoided only based on CAC, customer acquisition cost, customer acquisition component. Let's go after it. But if you are a startup founder, if you are let me say, building on your own, if you are building brick by brick, right, on your own, then focus on organic component at this rate. For example, social media post. Many startup founders make this mistake. They try to be extremely perfect, creating a social media artwork. They'll pull an agency, but then you drop in a social media post, and then you realize nothing happens around it, because Facebook's or LinkedIn's ask more money to boost it. Without the money, it doesn't mean anything. So instead of running a brand building composition, in an early stage, you can focus only on ads. But maybe you can also distribute content, because you don't need to invest on an agency and large sum only to do creatives, because you have your Canvas, you have your PicMonkeys, these tools. You can use that and create stunning, meaningful content internally, driven by founders, because everybody build their own. And still you can spend that agency marketing dollars to run your campaign for your customer acquisition. So this is why the framework is. We'll further discuss. If you have any question on it, let's do it. And especially when you do a B2B or distribution network, email works phenomenally well. Meaning you could able to, so in B2B business, we also call it as account-based marketing. First, identify prospect. Who is our customer? I'm sure you would have done your persona mapping, TG studies and all that. So identify who is who. Then there are multiple tools that are available in the internet to find somebody else's email ID, or even minimum you can find in their LinkedIn, and then write an email component, right? So our B2B business growth is, contribution is minimum 30 to 40% than our organic, because it can contribute so much. But in terms of traffic, the volume could be very, very low. But in terms of the value, it could add more sense. But for us in the B2C business, this has been extremely challenging. Emails are more important for your consistent newsletter, your feature updates, and your progress that you make in terms of the product, right? So that communication, newsletter communication, is extremely important for the engagement factor, and also the stickiness of the product. So we need to understand, okay, what is the calendar? So every time we want to draft at 12 newsletters across a year, or 24 newsletters across a year, trust me, all the startup guys, you can able to finish it in less than 2 days. Entire content plan. Not doing it, it's always having a big check. It's open without doing it. We can plan it. With the whole email newsletter can go with only one feature update, right? So, but it gives less than 2% stickiness. As I said, you could able to segment your data that you acquire. Trust me, whether the customer has been either converted or not converted, the data that you acquired could be in gold mine, because the cost per acquisition go lower when you find a similar audience in your campaign setup, right? So the blog. So when we talk about the blog, it's primarily inbound component. See, blog, I always say blog could be over celebrated in West, because let me say in Germany, somebody has been talking about yoga, right? In their whole city, like Stuttgart, she'll be the only two or third third person in the whole city who does yoga itself, or who know how to teach. So when they write a blog, it get a visibility and so on. But in India, every vertical, you have hundreds and thousands of people who write about it. So we have the challenge of there is so much of volume of content has been available. So whenever you plan a content, plan it consistently over a year. If you building a brand, then plan for 50 content, not less than 50 content. We try to be extremely niche. So what happens, it also picks up with the long tail keywords. And these long tail keywords also help you to rank your search traffic. And with Google's overall algorithm updates over a period of time, what happens is the quality of, see, three factors Google always look into, right? So one is the quality of content. I mean, the quality of content, when I mean, it's also associated with the keywords, their domain authority and the page authority, and then the performance of the website. So these are the three combinations. Whatever the algorithm changes happen, I'm sure they, for the benefit of the users, they're going to keep this three extremely important. So build the quality content and plan it for a longest stretch and focus on the long tail keywords. So we'll have a quick conversion. If you're a large set funded organizations, then move into build resources, become the HubSpot of your vertical. That's the only way. Build sizable content and plan it, because every time you lose it, because the paid campaigns, you cannot keep burning your funds. So your inbound will be built based on this blocks at the component. The balance, so these four channels going to contribute around 70% of your overall traffic, right? Then you have direct traffic and the referral traffic, meaning you do a lot of offline events, you do some kind of engagement, you do collaboration, people get to know your brand. Your sales team gonna give their card, right? So somebody gonna look at them. So these could be part of your direct traffic, or any PR article, your story writes about it, you get to, let me say, your website getting listed in one of the AWS, mentored organization in their website. So people across the world gonna click that, right? So these are the referral traffic. So when we speak, maybe today I speak, and a lot of people, I mean, some of them could have gone to actually looked at brand story to understand whether these guys do something that really we wanted to, right? So this is also part of my referral traffic. This whole ecosystem could contribute 30%, meaning if you take a large tech company like HCL or TCS, right? The majority of the traffic will be driven by brand keywords like HCL, because people look for HCL jobs in Gurgaon or HCL jobs in Bangalore, right? So those keywords. So we need to understand what keywords are important to us, what keywords are not important to us. See, if I'm a small agency, nobody, I mean, when I say we are a 75, 85 people team, not many people will be looking for, a creative director job in X company, right? They'll be looking for the problem solving element of it. So the content that we've been generated would able to generate certain clicks and so on. So this is the framework, because for me, because the whole world 4 or 5 years back, where growth hacking as a term was at the top of the game. I mean, you would meet, especially in Bangalore, you would meet growth hacker, in one growth hacker in every street here. So, right. So the challenges, I mean, everybody speak about how Airbnb succeeded, or how, let me say, Dropbox had a plan of referral program, how they succeeded, and etc. But nobody knows what is the second methodology that Dropbox used to help them grow at a scale. So, right. So see, growth hacking is nothing but you try out all the activities and believing that one will give you a spike. And whatever the result of that spike is in very for short form, but not for a long term. So whatever the mix which you see here on this dashboard, I mean, on this as a framework, this is going to stay with you forever. So investment on it, I mean, ideally, whenever we do an investment, we do all this organic and inorganic component, we budget 80%. And another 20% we invest on only on growth experiments, because we don't deny growth experiments. Growth experiments are useful, but we I mean, at least as our philosophy, we don't believe in investing 100%. It's almost like in gambling context. So I will not bet 100% of my budget on growth experiments. So 80-20 will be an ideal rule. So, I mean, give all your freedom to your growth hacking team or enthusiasts within that 20% budget, because these assets will stay with you. Google, you spent on inorganic, you spent on content, it stay with you. The problem is ad is once you burn, I mean, once the click is gone, this money is burnt and it disappears. Your luck has been defined based on that conversion happened to that or not. So, but this asset, I mean, you spent it on organic component, stays for the brand and keep supporting it for a while. So it's based on your ticket size and the volume. If it takes time, we'll discuss that in detail, how we could able to do it further. All right. So
yeah. So sorry, Bala, before you go forward, we have a question from your previous slide where we are talking about funnel from Sanjay Mad Guy Labs. So previous slide where you're talking about top of the funnel. So while I'll just read out the question for you. While doing content marketing, how to understand the intent of top of the funnel and see if it's going to be a direct lead or not.
okay, come again, because
so while doing the content marketing, how do you understand the intent at the top of the funnel and see if it's going to be a direct lead or not? So how we are going to measure the intent at top of the funnel and it's going to be a lead or not? So that's what the question is.
Okay, two ways. We can measure the engagement that happened in that content. For example, with search intent, you can map it with the keyword or also the social listening component. What are the sentiment currently for that particular topic, and what are the traditional keywords that have been Google suggesting us, right? And you have your own intuition that this is small tweak that would be, so that's what we call the search intent, right? So when you build a content around this, these components, right, you could able to measure if the people come through that traffic, let me say that content, how much time they're spending on that particular content in your website, or how they are engaging. Did you add any call to action button to take next action? For example, from one blog, did you allow them to do to the other blog? Or even you refer them to, let me say, hey, we can help you solve this. Do you like to set an appointment? Or do you want to talk to our customer support? So what is the call to action? What we defined at each section is what we need to define it, right?
That is what we can measure, I guess. That is.
Yeah, so that's a one parameter we could able to measure. So we will see what is the next action or what is an intent action you want them to do it. Do we have that measures out there, right? So yes.
So I also have one small question on this. Sorry, rather than this is kind of very subjective, but is there any, I would say for EdTech, is there any, I would say standard, I would say conversion percentages at every stage, or is it like not standard? My questions.
See, I would say definitely it's not standard because it's extremely dynamic based on who's our customer and also the budget we spend. Honestly, for example, a cost per engagement when you have a 5,000 rupees budget is way higher. Let me say 400% is higher when you do a large, 10 times of the budget. You get me? The scale of the budget is also because we've done and tested in B2C apparel business to even EdTech firms. And because the platforms are extremely dynamic, see, Google or Facebook doesn't give us like a media buy kind of an option, meaning they wouldn't say that, let me say, on 16th October, an asset value of, let me say, in Bangalore will cost X. So we could able to plan our media buy. It never happens. They're going to keep it dynamic. That's the reason whenever a marketer comes in and they say, hey, your cost per acquisition will be this, we'll give you 400 leads, it's never true because they could able to get you numbers, they get you through bots. We're not sure, but because it's dynamic, only after it happens, we could able to come into that cost per acquisition. See, and also they have multiple level of engagement, right? Link click, you can get it at 7 rupees, but a cost per lead at Facebook, you can, for EdTech itself, you can get it for 70 rupees to 130 rupees. Yeah. Now, when I plan for a 100,000 customer, for me, 70 to 130 is a 50 rupees difference. 100,000 into, let me say, 50 rupees is 50 lakhs. So I'm putting my head into a slaughterhouse if I'm not being extremely accurate with my brand managers. Correct? So that's the spectrum, right? Yeah. So, and okay. So I'm just, probably running it through how you should understand your competition. So what we did is, what are the metrics are important? Primary metrics, because whenever you open a Google Analytics, right, it gives so much of data. Not everybody is comfortable. Trust me, one time you pull all your stakeholders and open your Google Analytics, it throws us so much of uneasiness around the club is extremely difficult. So what are the data we need to look into? So we looked into this factors of, let me say, we pulled out these 4 or 5 big EdTech companies and we tried to understand what we ranked. So we primarily used the tools which are popularly used like Alexa, SEMrush or Ahrefs to show that. How to use that, what are the factors, we will definitely help you, run you through a little later. But we will show you what are the metrics we look at it. So first parameter is, you can look at it to look at them as what are their ranking, because the ranking factor is what helping them to have a higher performance in all the aspects that they do. This comes, I mean, the overall ranking or a good ranking comes based on various component, your content, your age, I mean, how old you are, the kind of traffic that has been coming in, the volume of traffic coming in, the diverse location of the traffic coming in, your website performances, your user engagement. So many factors combined together. I mean, maybe there are 300 plus combinations combined together where these, I mean, Google's or Alexa's of the tools helping us the ranking. So if you look at it currently, there is no, surprises in terms of understanding, but you could able to see the Byju's customer could be different from an Upgrad customer. But the very reason we dropped in, because these are the popular names. Even popular names database you could able to, I mean, take out, and you could able to dissect and bisect and understand what is working for them, what is not working for them, and we could able to take the benchmark. So the first parameter has been, you pull the ranking and you see whether they are in the upward trends or the downward trends. What is the rank within the country, and what is the reach, and what is the number of page views they've been having. So the more number of the page views, the better their internal content is, which means the customer is moving from one page to another page. The more they spend, we assume, the more the conversion could happen, right? So these are the metrics we look at in terms of any organization at an overall level. When we dive deeper further, when you look into understand the backlinks and other aspect, we primarily use a tool called Alexa, and we look at there is an element called competitor backlink checker, where if you drop it, if you could see here, I have put all the 5 companies here and kind of have an assessment. It gives me a report of what are the linking sites. The left corner bottom, you could see, I'll take my pointer. Yeah. So you could see here the linking sites. What are the sites wherever they have their backlinks that has been done. The backlinks could be a collaboration logo display, or even it could be a PR article, or even it could be an your blog that you have written and they have mentioned. The higher the Alexa rank, which is also mean they have the higher domain authority and the page authority. So the overall fund of the backlink is the traditionally it used to be get backlinks from a diverse side of the website. So your website have the trust and collaboration between.
Hello. Yeah. Bala, I guess your voice is not able to hear you. Yeah, guys, just wait for a couple of minutes. I guess Bala is stuck. Might be an internet network issue over there.
While we are waiting for Bala to join, Aditya, why don't we take maybe one question from the audience? If everything's going good, not good.
Yeah, so I guess we can take the questions from the audience and actually compile it so that we can give it over to Bala at the end. If you guys can. So I have questions from, I'll just read out the names. We have it from Parul. Again, we have a follow-up question from Sanjay. We have it from Ankur. We have it from Subhada. So if you guys, if you have the question, I know that I can moderate it at the end of the session. And so yeah, Anjali has a question. Okay.
Just Aditya, if you don't mind sharing maybe a short example of how you have used backlink, or maybe any of the elements
So,
which has been
yeah.
shared?
So I guess I can share my, I would say, experience with the funnel which actually Bala talked of. Obviously, we in PrepWise haven't done much of the backlinking yet, but yeah, we have done a lot of the funnel which Bala talked of about the awareness, intent, and consideration. Sorry, awareness, intent, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, and purchase. So that is what we. So I knew about this funnel beforehand, and so how to go about it. So as he said that initially we cannot burn a lot of budget. So what we did was we started off a very small budget. So obviously you get through, I would say, learning process. So we burned somewhere closer to, I would say, 1,000 rupees a day for 5 days, and we did direct, I would say, direct ads in the very initial days. But nothing came up, obviously, because I was my brand wasn't known at the very beginning, and we cannot expect people to actually convert directly running ads. So that was something initial learning, and then I got into this, obviously going through internet and browsing and learning from the people. So I got to learn about this funnel. So that is how you can actually go ahead, and first you have to create awareness about your brand, doing things for free, sharing content, blogs for free. So what we did, and first and foremost, we have to understand our TG. So target audience, understanding target audience is very important. So we knew our target audience are the college, I used to say college students. So we started doing a lot of workshops for free, and we did more than 50 workshops in a span of 6 months. We used to do like 4 workshops. Okay, so we have Bala here again. Bala's got disconnected. So I guess I can continue here from here when Bala actually is done with the slide, so that we can actually, or the flow with actually break. So
All right, guys, my bad. Hitch. So, okay, I was talking about this space where how this competitive backlink comparison can help us understand, the backlinks where we present and etc. So I was discussing what is a good backlink and a bad backlink, because every year PR collaboration is extremely important, because today, after 5-6 years, we understand about all the missed opportunities even for our own brand. So any offline activities which you do, if you could able to get a positive progressive backlink to your website, it will be great. So if you look at the top players, I mean, all of them would have got their what do you call it, the backlinks from all the top sites. The higher the Alexa rating, which is also, we assume that currently all these websites have a good domain authority and page authority. Earlier, Google had a rule of that your backlinks have to come from a diverse space wherever the traffic has been higher. So they gave a good domain authority and page authority. Today, Google, one of the major algorithm happened like last but 1 year, which mentioned that your backlinks quality is important to your business only when it comes from a relevant sites. For example, you are an edtech, and your backlink cannot come from an gambling website or a sports website. It need to be extremely specific to either news or any other education related websites who've been doing that particular services for over a period of time. So Google has this layer of backlink as in your domain authority increasing mechanism, because the other partners where you get backlinks, they have built the trust with Google for your vertical over a period of time, all these years. So it has, I mean, Google is trying to build it with a layered approach over a period of time. So these are the tools. And so we looked it through Ahrefs. So the first thing, when you look at the competitor, please look at this so-called domain authority, because the higher the domain authority, the more easily you could able to start ranking for your long tail keywords. For example, so it'll help you to build your features, products, and etc. But build this domain authority with the sizable number of backlinks here. It takes a lot of time. You cannot buy backlinks through a third party from, let me say, Fiverr, who promises you 1,500 links, I mean, in a week, on a month. So Google considered it's an unreliable sources to get those such backlinks. And even such agencies are that Fiverr or any other non-authorized backlink resource, what they will do, they will give the same link from the same domain, which is of no use. So we need to get, like we say, 1 or 2 quality backlinks from a diverse space that we need to get it. And also these tools also help you to understand how many keywords that you guys are ranking. The bigger the brand, the larger the set of keywords is in. See, what is the difference between an housing.com or even a 99 acres? Because real estate has been considered as one of the most expensive and competitive space in the in our environment, and you have these companies. All of them have created so many number of pages for long tail keywords. Whether you are in Indiranagar, Bangalore, or Gandhinagar in Ahmedabad, anywhere you search, 99 acres keep coming in because they built a strong domain authority and building in micro long tail landing pages over a period of time. So they would have covered every part of the country with their content. So they've been keep coming up for all the keywords coming. So this number of organic keywords will tell you what is the size of the muscle in terms of organic on search engine optimization your customers are, I mean, your competitors are been having. And the factors so-called do follow and no follow as an element. You don't need to think much about it because today they say 60-40 or 50-50 is a good ratio, but tomorrow they can change this dialogue into 20-80. So you cannot control that particular aspect, but knowing which are the domains that has been coming in from, either it's coming from governmental institutions or educational bodies, that will help you to get this particular competition scape to understand. So, and also you see in what period of time they've been built this momentum, and what are the new domains they have earned it over a period of time, and the same period what are the domains they have lost. You could able to get it over a period of time. And the very important component what you see here is the URL rating distribution, which is they might have over 157, I mean, or 150,000 plus backlink. If you say out of them 99% or 95% come from their 0 to 10 authority score, 92% come from 0 to 10 authority score, and 7 come from let me say 11 to 20 authority score. But the more your domain authority and page authority increases, so it's a good foundational program, but the ultimate focus need to be in building and momentum over this key area, somewhere between 70 to 40. So what happens, you need to, you're a content writer or anybody who's been driving content in your business, they need to find a lot of researchers in terms of the blogs or pages that are very relevant to us and also has a high domain authority score. We could able to change them, collaborate with them. I mean, you can share content, etc., and probably get a backlink. It will help you work in a better context, right? So other elements like what are the anchor text in terms of the branding, or what are the important courses. For example, I can easily say 3 years back when they launched into the market for Upgrad, digital marketing as a category could be a very, very important business. But last 3 years, it is data sciences courses and artificial intelligence courses. We've been driving the both top line and bottom line to their businesses. I mean, so that's the market trend of, I mean, that I could able to, as an outsider, could able to analyze. So most of the domains have been referring to these segmentations. And also look at, I mean, the TLD distribution, which is the domain IDs. So how much are coming from .coms, in, orgs, net, etc., etc., etc. The more the .coms, the better it is because it has a universal appeal in terms of the ranking. For example, us as a brand with a .in, brand story .in website, if I'm going to optimize it to get customers from the US, it may not work in my aspect. So when you read about it, Google and other, other bloggers keep saying TLD doesn't matter. Any domain you are, only the quality of the content comes in. But with our extensive R&D, which we've done in this search engine optimization phase, .com always performs better. So if you're at a stage before registering the company, or if you're at a stage, let me say, you haven't invested much in your domain or digital marketing, you can consider moving your domain from, if you have it in .io or .edu and etc., you can consider moving to .com for a global scale. If you're in and your customers are completely based out of India, then it works phenomenally well, right? So then the paid keywords and the organic keywords. So there's a component called under the competitor section in Alexa, you have a component called site keywords, where you could be able to measure the both organic and inorganic keywords. So this is an overall distribution. So see the numbers, what we get through third-party tool, either let me say an Alexa or SEMrush or Ahrefs, it's never 100% accurate. They have these large mega machine learning tools to drive data as much as being possible. but you can say it is more directional, but not 100%. But for us, always we would believe in some data is nothing. I mean, much more better than no data and direction, right? So among the 8,000 or 9,000 keywords that we could able to figure out, so they have over 8,900 keyword in organic spectrum, and they are paying for around 954 keywords. So they also ranking organically for that 954 keywords, but also they pay. So primarily where they pay, because they are a kind of market leader, or could be a major player in this particular industry, they would spend a lot of money to protect their brand itself, because I mean, everybody else in the market just run a predictive marketing, right? So predictive campaign that is run based on their competitor, and you could able to pull the traffic towards you. But if you see their share of traffic for their the overall investment, I mean, people are coming from upgrade. So if you would have clicked the paid, the contribution would be different. If you would click the organic, the contribution and the traffic keywords will be extremely different. But so you could able to completely download using this button. You can get it in the Excel score. Then you know where your competitor has been working. So you can then finally crunch those particular data in terms of, you could able to make an keyword buckets grouping based on the category. Then you could able to measure where you need to focus and how to attack that particular vertical aspect, I mean, or a category in that space, right? Okay, so what are the major metrics? I'll quickly run through. Look at this: page authorities, domain authority, put it in the slide to each next to each other, because Google want to treat all of us equally, at least in the organic component. But somebody is ranking above us or better than us, or somebody has been dominating in the space, right? So what happens is, so if somebody has been ranking better than us, they might be doing something better than us. So what is that component? So if you look at it, the page authority and the domain authority will be a major metric for this is like in rankings or a measurement. Google measures us based on all our actions that we did on the World Wide Web. And with the domain age, it is an extremely important component. That's why there is a practice of people buying old domain and doing their own brand on top of it. We were never lucky to find a good apt domain from the old age, but the age of the domain, it has been extremely important. And then the website performance, it's an overall performance primarily driven by the mobile and the desktop speed. Forget the mobile speed, because it is always going to be low. For example, White Hat Junior sold for 300 I mean, let me say
$1 million.
300 million, but their mobile speed is 47, correct? So don't worry about it. But the desktop speed, because your user might like it in a bigger screen, larger screen, right? So ensure that desktop screen has always been better, and then continuously optimize it. And so we usually speak in terms of your tech stack will be extremely important. For example, if you're going to touch your tech stack with either React or Express, I mean, component, then your maintenance cost, your team cost, and everything going to go high. Or if you're going to build a platform separately and you're going to have a WordPress front end or an HTML front end, then it'll be a great asset for marketing team, because marketing team can spend very little, I mean, low on the resource cost, and they can continuously engage on these aspects, mean speed and etc. Right? So these are the aspects.
Bala?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll just since we have not much time left,
Okay.
so I'll take some questions. And for all the other, I would say, folks whose answers questions I'm not able to pick up, just for you guys, you can put your questions at rahul@uincept.com. What we'll do is we'll get to you'll get your answers to your email IDs from wherever email ID you guys are actually putting in the questions. I would say Bala would be more than happy to answer these questions. We'll be forwarding it to him, and we'll get the questions. So it's rahul@uincept.com. So that I've pinged, and I said Rahul is also pinged, and for all of you, please write it down. So I'll just pick some of the questions, Bala, if you're okay at this stage,
Sure.
which are, I would say, more related to the previous content which we've already, I would say, spoke of. So I have questions from a couple of, I would say, friends of ours, Parul and Anjali. So they both are asking the same question, but I would say later half of the question needs a lot of time to answer. But first part can be actually taken care of. Is, can you explain how to search for backlink and which software will be actually would be some recommendation on the softwares. How to do it is a very long session, Parul and Anjali. It's a very long session, how to do it using the tool.
So simple. So for example, if you go to Alexa and if you have any of your friends and partners have access to that, because it's a slightly expensive component, but in your ecosystem, you'll have definitely have this component. So Alexa has only this in their products, they have only these 4 metrics. So under the SEO metrics, you have this, when you click this SEO, there is a component called competitor backlink checker comes in. The moment you click this, the next slide will be asking for, drop in 5 names or 10 names that you can, up to 10 names you can drop in. So even if you drop in one competitor, and it will give the list of all the places where they've been ranking. So you can use it as a checklist to create for yourself also. You can, let me say, see, especially when you give an SEO ad to your your agency or your freelancer friend who's been helping you, they'll always give you metric. Oh, we have done so many backlinks, but nobody will give you the clarity on what is the quality, what are the priorities, and etc. So this aspect, if you could able to download it from here, it'll be a big help for you in terms of do it. So I hope did I answered it correctly?
Yeah.
So how to do it in the Alexa? You have this competitor backlink checker. We will share the deck to you, no problem.
So that's so I said another session how to do it using Alexa. Anyways, so the another question which we have is from Subhada is, what is the minimum number of people you target at awareness level for the funnel to work and get, I would say, insights, measurable insights?
Okay, so
I guess this from the context of B2C, if I am not wrong.
Okay, correct. For the, see, the first question is, I'm going to answer without knowing what is your product, who's your TG. See, so that's what we call it as the market validation, right? Market is agreeing our product has been good enough. So what is the size of the market? So you can take it based on 3 aspects. One is whom you think the market size is, you already know where they are. If not, go based on the highest internet penetration based out of cities. You have traditional 4 cities and the new age cities like Ahmedabad, Pune, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. These 8 cities almost dominate 50 to 60% of India's internet traffic. So I'm sure your size is there. But the problem is each city is good enough to consume a 1 lakh budget, marketing budget per month. So now the challenge is which city you want to pick up. Like for example, you can pick up Bangalore where it has an highest internet penetration, followed by Delhi and Mumbai, right? And also you need to see where your customer persona has been reactive to the culture. So maybe you can bring in your vernacular ads related to these key areas, right? So now the size is being different. Now, for example, if you ask about what is the size you need to do, for example, in terms of the awareness, I would say if you take one city, at least do 100,000 to 1 million traffic. Awareness impression you create, because I'll be all expecting 1% of the click-through rate. 1%. If you're 5, you're lucky. Out of that 1%, for say 1 million, 1% will be 100,000. 10,000, right? So 10,000. Out of 10,000, we have even 100 to 500 clicks come in and convert to them. It will be great size. So it's only based on the ambition and the budget that we have. And Google's and Facebook can able to burn all our fund as much as we want.
So I guess this number can be a slight less if you are directing directly to the TG. If you're going ahead directly with the TG, I guess, if I'm not wrong, because the number which you said is kind of.
See, for example, for 100,000 visibility today, let me say, if your website coming in traffic, let me. So today, PrepBytes is 3 years, 4 years old.
2 years.
2 years, right? In 2 years, let me say you have monthly visitors. What is the visitors?
100K plus.
100K plus. So if you could want to do it at 100K at the day one, you just save yourself from a 2 years kind of an struggle, hustle. Yeah. So it's only based on the budgets, right? So that's why I always say resource and budgets also will take a bit. You can also do within 10,000. Visibility, but also you can run a low cost CPM, cost per impression based campaign through using Times Internet platforms or any other platforms. But these platforms who run a high high display campaign, it's on display campaign. So the display conversion is even more lower. It is disheartening for CPM. So it always had to have a good to have component rather than the must to have component. So we can discuss further. Please write it to me. I can help you with that. No problem.
Sure. We have another question from Ankur. So Ankur writes that I have tried creating the volume of leads, generating cost per lead goes up. Is there a way so that we can identify expected increase in CPL? Okay, so he has, I would say, generated volume of leads and his cost per lead is actually going up. So is there a way by which you can understand that why CPL is going up?
Okay, so
or rather stop from increasing it?
Okay, see, we spoke about we told in the first conversation itself that we will not speak about CRO, conversion rate optimization. This is a very exact question of conversion rate optimization because we need to understand what TG they've been running already.
Yeah.
Is it the same TG? See, because that's why I keep saying it's a dynamic platform. We need to continuously optimize, right? Even if the campaigns are going good, we will not touch it, right? But the moment it's not going higher, we need to do something else. What is that something else? We need to define. Rahul, I can put in touch with my campaign manager. I can sit with you. We can discuss that, but there is no ready-made answer today. But there are moments we have brought down. For example, we have brought down 300% to sell an 2.5 CR. An apartment for the largest brand in the largest apartment. Real estate brand in the country. So it can be brought down. It's only the matter of what are the multiple other tests we do. And probably if your website performance has gone high, if you have a malware function in your hosting, that many elements will help why this performance lagness and also your cost goes high. So we need to discuss that in detail. Please write to us.
Yeah, I have one example for Naukri.com, the chief marketing officer I met. He said just by increasing the speed of the page, just little, I would say not even by 0.1%, he actually got the CPL down by a lot of, I would say, a percentage, a huge percentage. So I guess multiple factors are there which actually accounts for this, the final conversion, which is
not a problem.
Yeah. So the another question which I have, which is kind of in your, I would say, space is throw some light on some quick hacks on, I would say, enterprise or B2B how to generate B2B leads, quality leads.
Okay, I love B2B conversation because I've burnt money and it's so much in that B2B conversation. See, work with AWS, Microsoft for all their products, from their CDP product to their Kubernetes to hosting. We've been working closely with them, and just because we're based out of Bangalore, we work with a lot of B2B companies. So ideal route is ABM, account-based marketing. See, there are only so many number of companies out there. Understand whom you wanted to do it. If you have access to Sales Navigator,
okay, I guess again Bala got stuck. Let's wait for a couple of more minutes, guys.
No worries, Aditya. If you don't mind continuing the previous example, which we left in the middle.
I guess that it answers a couple of answers to the, I would say some of my friends who have asked it in the very earlier that what is the conversion rate, or I would say in the funnel, so which we used to follow. So I told that we knew our TG and we went directly to the colleges because we were actually targeting to the college students to learn coding and prepare for the placement. So we went ahead and did, I would say, more than 50 workshops in a span of 6 months to get the I would say awareness built. And how did you measure the intent? I guess that was some of the question. So we used to leave our numbers, we used to leave our email IDs, and plus we used to circulate the white sheets around there, and so that we can actually capture the leads. So that's some small hacks. And apart from that, when we learned about this webinars thing, it was kind of after 6 months when we learned about this webinar stuff, we started doing webinar, and there is a very nice, I would say, growth hacking model around webinars. How do you run the ads and get your people around in the webinar, make them aware? Don't sell your products directly, just tell them about the real stuff. Let's suppose you are selling, if there might be multiple spheres in the edtech itself. You might be telling them something about the, I would say, coding, for that matter, what we do. You might be, your target audience might be different, your product might be different, and you might be selling it to a niche audience. So always go ahead with that. Build your interest in the Facebook, target the particular segment, get the leads in for the webinar, keep it for free, tell them the actual, I would say, content which you can relate with, based on your experience or based on your expertise, relate with them. And then I would say introduce your product in a very subtle way. And at times, if you don't introduce, it's fine. And then you can actually retarget it based on the, I would say, different other channels like emails. If you have in webinar mode, you can actually capture the emails. And if you can keep on retargeting, and the conversion percentage at the beginning is very low. So you have to understand that it's not going to spike up. So I told you that 6 months we just did workshops, and we didn't have much of the customers. But eventually, when these people started talking about it, and your people started knowing about you, then your brand value increases, your CPL and everything, your conversion rate increases, your rate goes down. So things starts happening eventually. So that is how we did. We started getting leads, and then you have to call them, you have to follow it up. So every stage you have to actually measure. Measuring is the most important thing, I guess. Every stage, I would say, measuring is something we used to measure at every stage, that how many people came in, how many people registered, how many people reverted to the emails, how many people opened the emails, is it like relevant or not. So from the very awareness level till the last, I would say, zone where we the conversion purchase, we used to measure every step. And we knew that, so that's why I asked for the standard conversion rate from Bala. I guess Bala has joined again. And what are the standard conversion rate? Because we, as in startup founders, at the very beginning, we look at the standard conversion rates and we get scared that this is the conversion rate, mine is very bad. That's initially conversion rate would be poor, but eventually it goes, and I settles down at what the industry is out there. So after 2 years, I guess right now we are at a pretty fair in conversion rate. So I guess Bala, you're saying, and the video got stuck.
So in terms of the conversion rate, also I'll touch upon, stick to that framework, guys, because Google, then social media, then email, and then your content-based marketing, because that's a framework you need to stick to. Because don't get scared about the conversion rate and all that, because it's extremely dynamic. There is no Midas touch there. So you need to figure out what is good for our brand, and it will happen only based on campaigns over a period of time. So we will identify it, but all we need to have some patience, and that's it. So in terms of ABM marketing, prospecting, then finding their connect, and doing a multi email activation for an B2B businesses. Meaning I will, yes, Mr. Sunidra, I'm doing that, B2B, brilliant. So the context is B2B, right? So the moment you prospect and take the list of companies, and then finding out who's the decision maker. Worst case scenario, you can do up to 40 to 50 self connect with a soft pitch. I mean, when you send a connect in LinkedIn itself, it gives you space. So don't push too much salesy there. Just try to project that yourself and solving a problem. Happy to connect, right? Send a soft pitch, and also find their email ID using tools like either Rocket Connect, or you have tons of tools outside to find the email IDs. Once you listed who's the person you need to speak, then you can able to download the email, and then you could able to send a drip campaign. When you say drip campaign, do it on day 1, day 7, and day 21. I mean, don't do more than 3 emails, because out of, let me say, in a B2B business, if you want to reach out to, if you want to have 200 customers, trust me, build a database of 20,000 customers. And build a 20,000 database, it doesn't cost you much, and it doesn't take so much time. In less than 10-15 days, you can able to have the entire market you want to touch base upon. And out of 200 customers, it's easy to close whatever your ticket size may be. I have done it for CSR. I have done it for selling Kubernetes. I have done it for the report selling, which is worth $6,000, $7,000. We done it for selling courses like Posh. We done it for even brand story, and etc. etc. So B2B email marketing works like a magic. Then search engine optimization. The only problem with search engine optimization is going to take time, but focus on building a lot of use cases. How your how your solution going to solve their problem. Either Microsoft, AWS, that's a use case that need to be built and reached out to the right audiences. When I say use cases, if you'd already done for somebody with the solution that you have and made an impact, call it as case study. But you have a solution, you haven't done it for anyone, then call it as a white paper. But you need to create a content, whatever the name you're going to call it as. So what are the typical channels to get the email database for B2B? So, I mean, as I said, LinkedIn is your validator. Crunchbase is an affordable component, because Crunchbase is 20,000. The traction, what they call, which has the largest databases, cost you around over $1 lakh. I will not suggest that we don't use it, and use tools like either AnyLeads or there is a tool called Scrap, SKRAPP. So this is where you would able to get that data at even a lowest entry cost point. And for B2B, that works like a magic. Run a B2B, don't force them to study. How much effect the language of content will make when targeting a market, say Hindi heartland. Okay, so vernaculars are not a must to do in a B2B email today. I mean, not for the enterprises. We haven't tried, tested it. I don't think any company, like let me say, there are 4 or 5 bigger digital marketing companies across the country than us. I don't see them claiming an localized content that has been written in a local language, and then that is working in a B2B. I mean, it haven't worked. For example, in Germany, I mean, or in France, a French content and a German content will work like magic for B2B, because even TCS doesn't have a major market share from France. But in India, it always, things coming from abroad is always has a higher value, right? So is English is also. So I think for B2B, you can stick to English, but it's also about your target audience, right? I mean, how you love to receive it. So if you're building a distribution network in a local, for example, let me say you are building a mattress brand and you need to have a tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 city distribution network, then that audience could be different from this. Then you can build them in your WhatsApp group and you can share your Hindi content. So the vernacular has been extremely can be different from let me say case to case. But in a large set organization, B2B organization, if it's an enterprise, then stick to English is what my humble opinion. Over to you guys.
Yeah, so great. Thank you, Bala. I guess we have handled most of the questions. If you guys have any further question, you can actually put it on rahul@uincept.com, and we'll be more than happy to get back to you. Bala will be answering these questions to you, and we'll be forwarding it to you. So thanks a lot, Bala. Thanks a lot, Deepika. Thanks a lot, Rahul. I guess can you please mute? Yeah, thanks a lot all the founders for joining in, and I guess say this was a really insightful session from Bala, and so that would help to you guys to go ahead and bring the change which is required. And if and you guys can get help from UIncept and obviously AWS Start. I would say there is a very nice ecosystem right now we have with so many players trying to help around. So if you guys are looking forward at a very initial stage, if you want to get accelerated, UIncept is there. If you want to get other sort of, I would say any sort of mentoring, or I would say any sort of help in terms of any, I would say mentoring or platform, I would say AWS Start is there. Go ahead and apply. So thank you again, all of you. Good night. Have a great day.
All right.
Thank you, Aditya, for a lovely, for being a lovely moderator. Thank you, Bala, for taking out the time. And EdTechs, please keep in touch, and please share any inputs you might have for what we can bring next for you.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, guys.
Bye.